This is the dowsing, used to be formerly Discover Dowsing. We're going to be having a question and answer today on soul clearing and body balancing with Lynn Walker. I have put her contact information on the chat over the right-hand side. You can get the chat by clicking in the middle where it says chat. You can see there's in the middle, and you'll see over the right-hand side. And I have up here for me to everybody, Lynn's telephone number is, and her email number is, and in the heading or in the subject line, put in Dowser. That way she'll know that you're not spam. Okay, so if you do that, that'd be great. Now, what we're going to do is, in a moment, I'm going to mute everybody, and when we get going in the program, and you have a question, then you can raise your hand and put a note in the chat.
*9.
*9, yeah, okay, thank you. Raise your hand and put a note in the chat. For people who are just dialing, you too can ask a question. Obviously, you won't be able to raise your hand. Well, I guess you will. It's *9. *9 is the thing, and that way I'll know that you're asking a question.
Hello?
Yeah. Oh, leader, okay.
So,
So anyway,
Zoom.
without any further ado,
Okay.
Suzanne is going to be hosting. I'm going to be stepping back and to try to coordinate things on the backside. So I'm going to stop my video. And Suzanne, why don't you introduce Lynn?
Dick, go ahead and mute all too.
Yeah, I'm going to mute everybody right now.
Okay, well.
And before we do that, where are you? You're muted, Suzanne. I'm just trying to find you here.
Mute myself.
Please unmute you.
I did.
And same thing with Lynn. Lynn?
Lynn, unmute yourself at the bottom of your screen.
It's on the left-hand side.
Left-hand side, there should be a little microphone, like wiggle your mouse. You're not unmuted yet. Down at the bottom left of your screen, there should be a little
Lynn, you should see a microphone. Let's see if I can unmute Lynn.
Is it muted now or not?
Chick, you might want to have her unmute everybody and just tell everybody to mute except for Lynn. Maybe that'll work. I run this with students every day. It's like crazy.
Am I muted now or not?
No, you're good.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we're good. So we can start now? Okay, I can't hear Tick, he muted himself, but.
Suzanne, you're muted. I'm sorry. And Suzanne, unmute yourself. Lynn, okay. Unmute yourself again. I apologize for the delay.
Tick, when you go to mute everybody, you have to unclick allow participants to unmute themselves.
I did that.
Okay, we don't have Lynn yet.
I apologize.
Maybe you got to go back to unmuting everyone and let them mute themselves so that Lynn can get on.
Let's. Lynn, what did you do? What do we got going on here?
Technical difficulties.
Lynn, are you there?
She's muted.
All right then.
Can you unmute everybody and then ask everyone to mute themselves?
I
Because she can't seem to get on.
okay, go ahead.
I'm unmuted
There you
now,
go, Lynn. Okay,
but Suzanne is muted. I can't hear Suzanne.
Okay, can you hear me?
Okay, now we got it.
Okay. Can we start?
Wow.
go for it.
Sometimes if you're muted and you want to talk, you can press on the space bar too and hold it down while you're talking.
I don't have a space bar. I'm on a tablet.
You're all set now, so let's move on. As I was
Yes.
saying, I feel very blessed to be asked to be your interviewer for this dowsing discovery session. I studied with Lynn, and she taught results kinesiology up at Malcolm's home in Montreal, and I roomed with Cindy Brush, and we were up there for almost a couple of weeks, and it was one of the best workshops I've ever taken. And results is a pretty comprehensive system. And what you're all familiar with is the body alignment technique from results that Lynn does at the Wellness Center at Convention. And she also does something called soul retrieval. So Lynn, can you tell us a little bit about your work with both the body alignment and the soul retrieval, and a little bit more about the whole results kinesiology system?
Yeah, it's the soul clearing, not retrieval.
Clear.
Sorry, it's okay. And it's what you're holding in your conscious, your subconscious, patterns that you're running from your parents, patterns you've developed in school from your peers, stuff that happened in childhood, and we find the blocks and clear them out. And so it's just like you're starting over. I liken it to a cup of coffee. If you kept a cup of coffee on the table for 3 years, would you drink it? No. So this is like that cup of coffee. If you don't clean out the old stuff of the body, nothing new can come in. You have to empty the cup. So I say it's like a cup of coffee that I empty, clean it, and hand you a fresh new cup, and you can put whatever you want in it. So with the soul clearing also, some people pick up negative spirits. It clears that out. It clears any problems people are having, any negative energy that they've brought around them. Like there's the inner child that gets blocked. It's when someone has an issue, like a 3-year-old has an emotional issue, part of her sticks at that age. So even though she grows to an adult, when she gets emotionally upset, she could act like a 3-year-old. So we find that and clear it. Parents' patterns. I guess that's about it.
You're using a pendulum while you do this work, and many different charts.
Yes, soul clearing. And I have many charts. Quite a few I made my own, but anytime I see a new chart at the conference, and if there's something on that chart I like, I add it. So I have
this work you're able to keep doing now that you're kind of isolated or social distancing at home. You can still do this work at a distance very easily, can you not?
Yes, most of my clients are at a distance now, and I'm also making new charts because I'm making a chart on specifically family patterns, like parent programming, like you're too fat or you're stupid or because it sticks with a child right up into adulthood. So I'm working on that now.
So negative core beliefs?
Yes.
Yes, which is something that you address in your results system as well.
Yes.
And how about your body alignment system?
Well, the body alignment's fantastic. It's using kinesiology, which is muscle testing. I use the fingers and I touch different parts of the body, and the fingers will open if that muscle is out of alignment, because muscles don't show up on x-rays. So very often people will have an injury and the doctor will say, well, there's nothing wrong with you. And then I'll come along and say, you have a problem there. And they'll say, oh, thank God, someone finally believes me. But it's really good for migraine headaches. One tap at the back of the neck takes away the migraine headache. And it's excellent for like bad knees, bad backs, whiplash, bad necks. We can fix it. It's always usually in one visit. Most of you have seen me at the conference, and you know that in the 30-minute session, everything's fixed. And then I check all the organs and glands, and if it's just to see if they're functioning properly or not. And say the heart, if I get the heart's not, it's testing that there's something wrong, I'll say, is it emotional or is it serious? If it's serious, I advise them to go to a doctor right away. If it's emotional, well, we'll talk about that.
Excellent. And are you able to continue to do this work now that you're kind of stuck at home?
I'm doing it psychically. It started with a regular client of mine who his hobby was to cycle down the mountain. So naturally, I saw him a lot. And one time he was in France and he phoned me and he said that he went to dive in a pool and he noticed it wasn't enough water. So he arched his back so as not to hit his head. And he said, I can't move. So I told him to go lie down. I went upstairs to my massage table and I visualized his body there. And I did a body alignment. And he said he fell asleep and he woke up, there was nothing. He had no pain. So that made me realize I could do it.
Wonderful. So you can do this work over a distance. It's quite amazing.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
do you have, I know that you're known as the fixer at the convention.
Am
in the
I?
Center. Oh, yes. You really take care of people's aches and pains and issues. And you teach, but are you able to teach now your system, or will that come in a couple of years when things loosen up?
I can't teach it right now. No, maybe I'll be doing some more when things loosen up. I'm teaching small workshops like, a hands-on healing type thing, but that's not dowsing, but just how to use the energies, how to take down an infection, or how to take down a fever, different little things like that. But that's a 2-week intensive, and you need a space, you need people. The main problem is when Malcolm's mom passed, I didn't have accommodation for people.
Right. She had a wonderful 3-story or 2-story house in Montreal that we all gathered at.
Yeah, we taught downstairs and they stayed upstairs, and Betty, Malcolm's mom, knew the results system backwards. So any student staying upstairs, she was always helping. They always aced my class.
Yeah, she was great. I stayed with her and she was quite a gem. Lynn, I know that you use the pendulum everywhere you go for everyday things. Can you tell us some of the interesting things you do with your pendulum?
Well, if I'm going shopping, I use the pendulum to find out what percentage the person likes the gift. And in my mind, I have this chart, which is 0 to 100. And I usually, I need 80 or more if they're going to like it. And then how I started with that is that a neighbor of mine, a bachelor who I knew really nothing about, was helping me with my pool when I was away in the summer, and I wanted to give him a gift. So I'm in the store and I'm saying, would you like a shirt or would you like a sweater? And the pendulum's saying a sweater. So then I'm there, okay, now what color? And I've got my head down and I'm walking through the aisles, and all of a sudden I look up and there's a whole bunch of people watching me, like, who's this crazy lady? Because I'm there just like, does he like blue? What color would you like? So I use it for shopping, and my granddaughter says to me, I don't know how come you always get exactly what I like. So that's the main thing. I used it to buy a car. What percent is this my highest choice? Until I got a yes. I'd say, is this a good car for me? Yes. Is it my highest choice? No. So I kept going. I'm also a director of a drop-in center for seniors every Wednesday where I make homemade soup and stuff, and they come and they have lunch and gather, but it's closed because of the coronavirus. But I've never cooked in large quantities, so I use the pendulum, like how many cups of water do I need? Do I need more bouillon? Do I need, what spices do I need more? Is that enough? I use that all the time. I have a pendulum in my kitchen. I also use it to clear houses. I have realtors coming to me now to clear houses, that because a lot of the old energy stays in the house. I'll give you one example. One of my clients asked me if I could clear this house. It was a $2 million house and it wasn't selling. So I use pretty well the soul clearing technique. The same, I've added a few things, but it's the same idea as clearing a body as a house, because a house has negative energy, ups and downs, everything that you're living. So I found out there was violent sex abuse, among other things. So I told the guy, and he told the broker that was selling the house, because the broker, when he said he was going to have me clear it, he said, I don't believe in that garbage. So when he said, well, this is what Lynn found, and he said, how did she find that out? And he said, well, that's what she does. And so he said that the guy was in prison for sexually abusing his wife and daughter, like maliciously. So energy stays in the home. So I started clearing homes. I just use it for everything. Coronavirus. Anyone that wants to come near my house, do they have a disease? If it's do they have coronavirus? No. One girl, she wanted to come, Malcolm's realtor wanted to see me. And I said, has she got a disease? It said, yes. Is it coronavirus? No. I said, you can't come, you've got something. No, I don't. And I said, yes, you do. And then she said, well, I'm taking antibiotics for a sinus infection. Could it be that? Well, that's a disease. So I use it for the coronavirus all the time. Is there any, as I walk out of the store and get in my car, did I pick up anything? So.
Excellent. And when you're clearing a house, are you using your soul clearing system that you use on people, the same system?
Well,
so,
I've made a new chart. I made a chart that I follow, a new chart, but like I go through like in the soul clearing, there's chart 6A, which is different energies. And that's where I picked up the incest and everything off that chart. Another woman, what got me into doing houses is a client of mine for soul clearing came to me one day and she said, do you do houses? And I said, no. And she said, well, I have this condo I can't sell. And it's been on the market 2 years. And I said, well, I'll try. So she says, well, how much will it cost? And I said, well, I don't know. I've never done it. But I said, if I succeed, you buy me supper. So she said, okay. So I didn't know what to do. So I went into my soul clearing and I asked if I could clear this house. And I started following the steps. And so then she phones me up 2 weeks later and she's, where do you want to go for supper?
Oh, wonderful.
So when I clear a house, I always dedicate it to the light when I finish. So from nobody buying it because of the bad energy, it had really bad energy. And a yoga worker came in and bought it right away, said, I love the energy here. So it was such a complete difference. So that's how I knew that worked. That started me on that. It's just for me trying things that I get into things.
Well, you just keep an open mind and just try to see if what you can do can work. And I imagine if you can clear houses, you could clear land too, or
yes,
schools or municipal buildings as well.
There's no limit.
Excellent.
And ask questions. And when I work with someone in soul clearing, this is important too. I asked if I have a chart that shows me if I'm working with their higher self. I asked to work with their higher self, and my higher self, because I don't want to work on a lower level at all, because we all have our thoughts and all the clients have preconceived ideas that are not exactly right. So I always work on a higher level and everything comes out right. And people have said to me, I don't understand it. You're right in my head. Well, some of you that can see right now have had soul clearing and you know what it's like. It's really different.
I have. It's an amazing body of work. Lynn, I think at this point, there's probably some people anxious to ask you questions. So if we can ask Tick to come back on, and if people want to raise their hand or type into the chat room to ask a question, that would be great. I know, Malcolm, you probably have a question, although Lynn doesn't want to answer yours.
Well, Malcolm's trained in all my work. He does he does soul clearing too. And in the results, in the body alignment, we do emotional release. I mean, in the results system, other than the body alignment, we do emotional release. That's where we go down into someone's childhood and their fingers open at the age they have blocks. And we take them all out and then give them a special meditation that accesses the quarter of the brain. They're holding the information and take it out. We also do repattering. I just clicked on that, and that's where we bring in the other whole side of the brain. It doubles your comprehension, cuts your stress in half. People that are very, very sensitive, they're usually right-brained, and they don't have much logic. And people that are very, very left-brained don't usually have much feeling. But after repattering, it brings both of them in.
Into
So,
balance, so to speak. You bring it back into balance.
And Malcolm does a lot of, he likes the emotional release, and he does a lot of the emotional release.
Catherine has a question. And Catherine, if you'd raise your hand so I can find you, then Catherine wants to know, is the soul clearing permanent?
It's from the day I do it back. But everyday living, and you get yourself into other messes and things, you know, we have free will, we have free action, free speech. So you can accumulate new stuff, but it clears from that day back. But what it does do too, apart from clearing from that day back, when you go to repeat a pattern that you had, it's like, no, I'm not going to do that anymore. You're very aware now of what it is that's blocking you, what it is you're doing, what it is you're holding, and you stop yourself. So it does affect, yes, but some people that are very emotional or businessmen, some of them come to me much more often because they're working on, I have a lot of stockbrokers and they have a lot of stuff, and so they come more often. One man came and asked me about a job. So between two jobs, he says, I have this really good offer of a new job, but it's out of town. I'll have to travel a bit. And my job, and it tested 100% the new job and only 10% the old job. And he said to me, that's funny. He said he was going to open a new department and I was going to be the head. But this man is a regular client of mine. So he listened and he went to tell the boss, and the boss says, well, I have a meeting first. And in the meeting, they said they were closing down half the thing. So he would have been out of work. So he's sitting there, thank you, God, thank you, Lynn, while everybody else is frowning, you know, because he took the other job. But they call and ask me questions and I give yes or no, or I use, as I said, this percentage chart, what percent it's their highest good. And if it's under 80, they're over 50, no, if you need something, but under 50, excuse me, over 50, 60, 70, 80, there's still something to be changed a little bit to make it perfect. I hope that helps.
Good, thank you.
Any more questions?
Yeah, Meryl Cook has a question, and she wants to know, how are you helping people who are ill with corona? And Meryl, would you unmute yourself?
Well, with coronavirus, I'm sending vibrational medicine by vibration, not the medicine. And I've had quite a few people's feedback that it's really helped them. One fellow called me about something else, and he said his mom was very sick and she had coronavirus and she was very, very ill. So I knew her, so I concentrated on her and sent her healing and asked Jesus to send her the right medication to correct this condition. And I left it at that, and it was about a month later or something. She was phoned me to do something for another son, and she said I was very sick with coronavirus. I said, I know, your son told me to clear. She said, that's why I had a change overnight. Overnight, it just switched. But I work very closely with Jesus. That's my personal, when I do absent healing and vibrational medicine and things like that. Does that answer your question? I can't hear her. Hello?
She,
She's talking, but she's muted.
yeah,
Hello?
she looks like she's unmuted, but
Yeah, and she's talking.
yeah, we can't hear her.
Tick could hear her maybe.
All right, well, maybe she can type it into the chat.
Where's Tick?
Meryl, I'm gonna type, you can type it into the chat, and I'm gonna mute you, and then we'll go on. And Hayden has a question. He says, I'm new to dowsing. I can't get my copper rods to work yet. Is there a good way to activate them? Please, Lynn. Hayden, I'm going to ask you to unmute yourself, and so you can talk to her if you want. Go ahead.
Yeah. Hi, Lynn.
Hi.
Hello.
I mainly use the pendulum, but when I use the rods, I use the rods to check auras and to do demonstrations with. Oh, my TV just went on its own accord. We got visitors. But the thing is to start with the rods, put them down and give them a little energy. I do. And then, like point them down, bring the energy up, and then say, show me a yes. And to me, a yes is in towards you, pointing towards you, and a no is the rods are open. And that's the way I find it works. Give me a yes. But sometimes new beginners too find it easier doing give me a yes and no with a single rod. A lot of times people only use that. But use both of them and just be very clear in your instructions. That's what I do. There might be others down there that outside in this group, I mean, that do it a different way.
Okay, thank you. No, that helps. It's yeah, no, they're just a
but
little
always
bit.
give it a bit of energy,
I will. I'll give them some
Them up
Reiki.
and say, like, point them down and say, give me a yes, and bring it up, and it should go in, and then give me a no, goes out.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Hayden. We got another question here from Nancy. And she wants to know, Nancy, where are you? Would you raise your hand? No, okay. She says she's very severely, oh, there you are. Hi, Nancy. Why don't you unmute yourself and I'll ask your question. Nancy's severely electromagnetic sensitive and disabled by cell tower, and now she's shut in her house with her own emissions, and wanted to know what you might be able to help her with or give her some advice and how she can improve herself. So go ahead, Lynn.
Well, sometimes people have a program of that, because when I was in Rochester, New York, there was a girl who was allergic to soap and everything. And when I cleared that pattern, it was gone. So sometimes we need to clear that first. That it's hard to say over talking like this, because I would have to check her out myself, and find out with pendulum, is it this cause or this cause, or because then I would ask if it's a nutritional or physical cause, the emotional cause.
And
then
how can I do that with you, Lynn?
I think he left my phone number.
Oh, can you tell it to me?
No, Nancy, I put it on the chat.
Oh,
It's-
okay.
It's in the chat. It's like the second chat down, and her phone number's there and her webpage is there.
Have you found it?
No. No, I don't. But I like that you work with Jesus because he's my guy too.
Yes. And when I do vibrational medicine, I ask if he has a medication that would help this condition. And if I get a yes, then I send it. A quick example, I was teaching healing, I was doing healing at a spiritual camp in Maine. And this woman brought her daughter in for something else, but this woman had so bad lymphedema of her legs. They were like really like elephant legs, huge. And I said, what's the matter? And she said, well, I have lymphedema. And she was a young girl and she had 2 young children and she had to work standing up. They used to drain her legs twice a week and wrap them in wrap. So I did a body alignment with her, and then I asked Jesus if I could help her, and he said yes. And so I gave her vibrational medicine, and it was a few days later, she noticed when she went to get out of the bed that she could bend her knees, that her legs were down by half. So the next year she came back to the camp when I was there, and she had a whole gang of people with her all wanting to meet this lady. And I did it a second time, and now I think it's 9 years now, eh, Malcolm? It's 9 years and she's never came back. And that was just with vibrational medicine. And one of her friends wrote a book on me. It's sitting there waiting to be published. I have to get on it. But she asked permission to write a book, and she wrote a book on my work.
Well, this has really taken away almost all of my life. And I'm shut into my house. I would really like to be able to at least go outside. But even if I could tolerate more, it would really make such a difference.
Yeah, what I have to work with you and have you tell me each individual thing, and we find out what, you know.
Well,
How
far out is it, do you think it would be before I could see you? Are you booked?
Well, with the coronavirus, I have all the time in the world. I'm not doing all my other activities.
All right.
So that was a good time to catch me.
This week. All right. I'm ready to be healed.
Nancy, I have put her telephone number in the chat for you. So you
Thank
should
you.
have her telephone number right there.
All right.
Okay?
Work with the pendulum, but as I said, I work with Jesus and I work with God. We do this repattering, you know, with the bringing in the other side of the brain, and that Suzanne and Cindy know, and Malcolm. To repattern, we transfer energy into their eyes. And I had this girl that was blind in one eye and the other eye was going like this all the time.
Yeah.
And others said that he had just been to a specialist and she was going to lose that eye. So with repattering, she had a stare in one eye, and her core belief was everybody hates me. A little girl of 11. And so when I was walking towards her to give the energy, all I did said, God, please fix her eyes. I didn't do anything. I got a shiver. Anyways, when it's finished, I noticed we go like this with the pencil to see, and her eye was tracking. And I said quietly to her mother, stand behind me. And sure enough, the mother said, oh my God, her eye is tracking, the blind eye. So I had a shirt with embroidery. I said, what color is this? And she told me, and I said, look across the room. There's flowers there. What color are they? And she said, yellow and orange. There were sunflowers. Well, I burst into tears, ran out of the room. Malcolm was there. I landed in his arms crying like a baby. And he said, what's the matter? And I flew into the kitchen, and the president's wife came in. And I said, oh, I'm sorry. She says, Lynn, you healed the blind child. Don't be sorry. And I'm blubbering away. The mother comes out crying, and the child came out in bliss with her head up and looking all over. She walked in like this, trying to hide herself because of that stare and everything. She just was in bliss. But I never heard from her again. And then I taught a class 2 years ago in Maine again at a different camp. And because writing the book, I said, the girl said, can't you get hold of that woman? And I said, no, the 3 people we couldn't get hold of were in that class. And someone in the class said, tell that, but the woman's with hair was bald, so I didn't recognize her. And someone said, tell the story about the blind girl. So I started to tell it. And the woman said, It's true. It was my daughter, and now she's in college.
Oh,
Still sees, but there's nothing I did other than said, God, please fix her eyes.
I believe in miracles, Lynn.
Yeah. So work with miracles in dowsing too. Miracles happen every day.
Yes, they do.
I hope that answered your question, and I'm looking forward to hearing from you.
Thank you. You'll hear from me soon.
Okay, there's a question from Deb. Wherever Deb is. Deb, would you raise your hand? Someone I know is having some mental health issues. And can I ask to help this person, or do you need to have the person ask for help for themselves?
I just dropped my phone and fell. Sorry. I can usually help this person. I would need the name and birth date, but it also helps if they ask themselves. Depends on what the issue of mental health, like how mentally ill they are or the degrees, most depressions and that I can fix very easily.
Okay. So it doesn't have to be asked by the person who's experiencing it. It can also, the question or the healing can be asked for by someone very close to them, is what you're saying.
Yeah, you'd be surprised how many wives have had me clear their husbands.
Okay.
Name and birthday, but I will tell you this, when I mentioned before that I work with the high self, I ask, high self, do I have permission to work? I had one girl say no, and I didn't do it, but that was only once.
Okay.
I ask permission of the body before I start, if I'm not by the person themselves.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I don't see any more questions, Lynn, but it sounds like maybe you would be very good at working with relationships for people as well.
Yes, I do that. Yes, I work with relationships. When we work with relationships, I don't do it as much, but I certainly do it. We have a relationship entity. So we work with the male and the female and then the entity. And the entity, the relationship entity is the age they started seeing each other.
Oh,
So when you work with them, you have to ask, something comes up. Is it one party? Is it the male? Is it the female, or both parties? And who should speak, male, female, or relationship entity? And the relationship entity, when it speaks, it has to speak for the best for both of them, not his part or her part. And it really challenges them. And then we do a clearing and do emotional release. I had a young boy that would throw tantrums in school, and it was crazy. His blood work would go crazy, and then it would be okay. And then every time he was stressed, it would go crazy again. And I worked with him, but I had stuffed animals. I had Mr. Nice Guy and Mr. Bad Guy and him, because it's, and it was so funny because when he was a bad guy, it's a teacher's fault, pardon the expression, but he said, she's an asshole, and I'm going to say, but when it was Mr. Nice Guy, well, it wasn't really the teacher's fault. Andrew was really, wasn't very nice to her. He was telling me the truth. The mother's mouth was falling open. So we found all that and cleared it. So that's you learn in advanced results.
excellent.
Working with groups, working with businesses. It's very easy to work with businesses because you have to find out, it shows where the problem is. But working with animals, like, one animal wouldn't eat and everything, and he was having problems losing his hair, and it said he was lost and felt lost and abandoned. And it turned out the owner left him with someone else and then came back for a month and then went away again and left it. So when he came back, they wanted to give her medication. The dog didn't like it because I follow the charts. It's like the charts for results. And nutritional and it was illegal drugs. So I said it didn't like the medication it was taking. So they were putting it in his food so he wouldn't eat. So then they put it in the water, he wouldn't eat, wouldn't drink. So this working with animals, you can work with babies using surrogate testing. I hope that answers. Or did I get off the question?
Lynn,
Yeah.
there have been a couple questions, and we have to kind of touch this carefully because it's going towards the medicine and that sort of stuff. But some people are concerned or curious about your thoughts about the COVID vaccinations. Do you have any words of wisdom that you'd like to say about that?
Well, it's really a personal choice. I tested 100% that was okay for me to take it, and I'm getting it on the 21st of this month. I get the flu shot and it doesn't hurt me. And I figure that I'm very strong and but in the future, I have a trailer in the States and I have, I want to travel and it's going to come out that you can't fly unless you have it. You can't do this unless you have it. But I believe in any prevention from disease. I don't believe that one shot could cause all the craziness that they say it's causing. And when I test what percent there's fact, I get 10 and 20%. So yes, I believe in it. I'm getting the shot.
Good. I'm sure a lot of people are going to be happy about that.
Yeah.
Someone else, Tim Schmidt also asked, Lynn, do you have any special way that you show your thankfulness to the God that you know for helping you with the healing or something like that? Is there a way that you add or that you thank that God, or
Well, this
or is that
drop
private? You don't want to talk about?
No, the drop-in center that I run for seniors is my way of giving back. And then even though it's the pandemic is on, I've been in touch with every one of the seniors that go to the drop-in, make sure they're getting food, that they're getting help, that everything's okay. Also, I do help get stuff for street people in Montreal. I have 2 of my drop-in members that feed the people in the streets of Montreal. And I help get clothing, supplies, food. I give them $100 for turkeys. But I never go to bed at night without just saying, thank you, God and Jesus, for my day. And thank you for helping whoever I asked help for. Is that it? I never know if I'm answering enough or what.
I think you answered the question. So
Yeah.
you kind of have a healing team that helps you and you give thanks and you're grateful at the end of the day and you say your prayers or your little
Yeah, well, the drop-in center is non-denominational and non-black, white. We have Ukrainian, I have German ladies, and it's a great group. And they all get together and we have a real, as I say, I make a big pot of soup and we make desserts and they come every Wednesday, have a coffee, have lunch, have someone to talk to, and everybody cares about everybody else in that group. It's like a family.
Well, you're very fortunate to be able to do that for your community, and I'm sure they're quite fortunate to have you there. I think we all have to learn to pay it forward a bit and help people and be kind.
Yeah, even a smile, people just say, well, I don't have any money. One time in my life, I was divorced and I had a child and I was broke. And I was doing healing. I didn't do results or I didn't know any of that then. And I was doing healing on this lady and someone came collecting to the door and I said to her, I'm sorry, I said, I feel bad. I really don't have any money. And then Leah answered me. She says, Lynn, anyone with money can give a gift. You give a gift, much more important, you give your time. And just give a little time to somebody, help somebody, or just a smile. Do you notice that many people living alone never get a smile? So anytime I lock eyes, like I see anyone looks at me, I smile. And that is giving back, smiling. Make them feel, if you smile,
Too.
give them self-worth. Pardon?
I said giving people compliments makes their day as well.
Yes, I do that a lot.
I know you do. That's why I mentioned it.
Okay.
Lynn,
Yes.
there was a question, and I know the answer to part of it, but this person, and it's not this, two parts. Number one, have you written a book? Secondly, if not, which I believe you have not, is there one that you can recommend? And third, do you sell your charts, or do you have a place that you can recommend where people can get charts?
Well, I haven't sold my charts because not all of them are mine. As I said, I picked up pieces from other people's charts and I didn't know if I should sell them. And that was the main reason I use all different charts. Actually, if you had dowsers, you can find every chart that I have, I got there, but I made my own. Like I was teaching in France and this obese woman came and asked me about obesity. So that night I made a chart on obesity, everything I could think of and what was the reason. Was it emotional? Was it this? Was it this? Hers was childhood programming. So I asked her about it and their mother was always telling her she was disgustingly fat. So she kept that program. Another time, someone came to me and a gay couple, and they wanted to have a child and they couldn't. So that night I made a chart and their block was a past life block. So I cleared everything there and they got a baby. So then I got a whole influx of couples wanting children. So this is how I make the charts. And what was the rest of the question?
Books. Do you have a book that you would suggest?
The woman with lymphatic in her legs, lymphedema, her friend wrote a book. I have it right here and it just needs to be published. And I just wasn't sure how to do it. I had a little problem with the writer. The person that wrote it, I went and stayed with her for 3 days and she taped me day and night. It was asking me about this and this healing and that healing and this and this. And when my son died, she came and taped that. And then she didn't have a printer and I gave her a printer. And then she needed some money. So I gave her some money and $1,500. And then all of a sudden she hands me this thing. It was supposed to be free. She wanted to do it. It was free. It was free. Then she said she wanted 10% of all my sales. She wanted this, she wanted that. And that's one of the reasons why it didn't go to print yet. I didn't quite know what to do about her. But I'm going to go ahead and self-print and I'm not going to, I was going to publish it like, hey, and Malcolm brought it to my attention that if I publish through Hay House, that they own me and they own the book and all my life will be spent like doing book shows for them and things like that. And I'm 78. I'm getting lazy. I want to slow down a bit. I don't want to stop healing, but I want to stop the extra stuff.
Thank
so
you.
there's a book written. It's written and it's right here. And I have all the testimonials. I got a whole bunch. She went and phoned people and documented the testimonials, so that's done. Yeah, in the letter, she wanted the percentage, but she wanted 30 cents for each copy, each page of the book, each copy, and I'd given her a copier. I couldn't understand this, but anyway. So I just got discouraged at that point and put it away, and I have to do it. This winter, I talked to someone about it. The coronavirus is a good time to work on it when we're stuck. Get it out there. Lisa said she'd put it in the book still if I ever get it out there.
There's a lot of self-publishing available to people now that are pretty reasonable. So
yeah,
just needs a little investigation.
Someone was saying with Amazon, like if you publish yourself and people want a book, you have to send it and mail it. Whereas Amazon, they take a percent, but then they send you the percent and they'll translate it for you into another language if you need it. And so we'll see. I'll talk it out with her because I asked her, she's out of work right now. So I asked her if she was in, yes. And then she's, well, you want to put on this, on that, and words and that. And as Tick and Suzanne know, I'm computer illiterate. I have a pin that says my computer doesn't understand me. So very patient with me.
Lynn, your friend Malcolm has a question. Malcolm, unmute yourself.
Oh, gosh.
You knew that was coming, didn't you? I just wanted to mention about the drive-by body alignment.
What do you mean the drive-by?
Well, you did it with a guy with Thomas in Ottawa.
Oh,
And we're driving down the street. I'm usually driving. And she says, quick, Malcolm, give me your fingers. And so I just kind of hand her my hand. And as we're driving by, she's testing for somebody walking down the street. So I just wanted you to talk about that a little bit.
one of my students in the class in Ottawa was very, very left brain, so analytical and logical. So none of what I said could possibly be true. And we were in Ottawa, and because he was on his own and I was on my own, often after class we'd go for a walk or have dinner. And there was this bum in the marketplace in Ottawa, and he could barely walk. It was just terrible. And he stopped at a lamppost and put his leg up. He was in pain. So I said, Thomas, you watch that man and give me your fingers. And I shut my eyes and I started a body alignment on him. And the man, Thomas was telling me he's walking better, he's walking faster. And then he got to the corner. He put his hands in the air and did a circle on the corner going, wee, you know. So that was a bum that I was working on with my eyes shut. He was given all the lessons. I was saying that often someone that's retarded is a very high level soul that's come back to go through karma on that. And I just said that when we were going up an escalator, and there was this very retarded boy coming down, and I smiled at him. As I told you, anyone that looks at me, I smile in their eyes. I smiled at them, and he reached out his hand and put it on top of mine. And Thomas is there, oh my God, he reacted to you. I said, yes. So does that answer you, Malcolm, or is that what you wanted? He's muted.
Second, there we go.
There you go.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to talk to you about that because it happens fairly often. And there's been, you don't get any, it's not a kind of situation where you get any feedback, but it can be pretty startling. Remember the father of the owner of Lustanza restaurant?
Oh yeah, well, he was bent over with arthritis. And this restaurant we frequent a lot was really bent over and obviously in pain. So I spoke to his son. I said, maybe I could help him. Oh, no, he's got doctors, you know, and the story. So I said, okay. So one day we were eating in the restaurant, Malcolm and I said, God, if I'm supposed to help this man, I'd say that a lot, actually. God, if I'm supposed to help this man, please put him in my path. And Malcolm and I are sitting at a table, and right there is the bar. He comes over and leans on the bar, like 2 feet away from me, you know, leaning on the bar. So I said, okay, Malcolm, look. So I take Malcolm my hands and start aligning him. So a month, 3 weeks later, I see him, he's upright, walking normally. I said, my God, you look so good. And how's your back? He says, it's much better. He said, some people say that sometimes when you're older, sometimes the arthritis suddenly disappears. I said, oh, that's good. And walked away, you know. I get back, Malcolm, I'm so excited, you know.
When she says bent over, I mean, this guy was like almost 90,
Yeah.
very close to 90% bent over.
I worked on each vertebrae, yeah. So it's fun. I get so excited, you know.
Thank you, Malcolm. Thank you, Lynn. Somebody asked, somebody has, for instance, disease, and this person, Dowser Terry, asks about MS. If somebody has MS, do you focus on healing the MS, or do you explore the root cause?
MS comes from the brain sheath at the back of the head. And actually, there's a supplement that's out, that's ginkgo biloba, that's excellent for it. Because ginkgo biloba attacks it's the brain sheath. And a lot of people that have been diagnosed, like my niece was diagnosed with MS, and they told her legs would get weak. So her legs, were any of you in a class with Carolyn? No, okay. her legs would get weaker, and they did. And then she would have to quit work. And everything the neurologist told her, she followed, but he was feeding the brain and her belief system. So I tested her and I said, does she have MS? It's no. Does she have a brain sheath problem? Yes. So we treated that. Now all the MS is all completely gone. And she's a manager of a big furniture store. She goes back to the neurologist and she says, it's gone. He said, that's impossible. She said, well, test me. And he tested her, it was gone. But ginkgo biloba is the brain sheath, and it's really good for that. And also I do vibrational medicine if needed.
Is repatterning energy something that you are creating? Or is it, did you recreate the repatterning energy? Or
No, it came from Margaret Keane. She had actually had a near-death experience and came back with that knowledge. And it's a transfer of energy into the eyes. And I asked Jesus to walk with me when I walked towards him and asked to correct all the imperfections in the eyes. And it was during repattering that girl got her sight. It's powerful. And I saw someone that's a medium that sees things. And they said when I was walking towards them, like there was like white lightning coming off me when I asked Jesus to walk with me. So it really works. So it's one, like, you don't know how come the TV works, but it works. That's one of those things. It works. It works on the Christ energy. She in her teaching, she said it is the Christ energy that we use in repattering.
Thank you. And I don't know if this is part of it, is talking about overcoming negative emotions with positive affirmations. Is that something that's part of what you do?
Yeah, what I do, and also I counsel my patients my clients to say, if you have a negative thought, say cancel, cancel, particularly if they're in couples, because I'll have the couple say cancel, cancel, and I tell them they immediately have to change that negative thought into a positive one. So I say it often. If I start going down the night, I'd say cancel, cancel. And I had a problem with a particular thing. So I went in the mirror and talked to me. And I said, Lynn, will you stop? And I'm talking to myself in the mirror. So I use that. Yes. Affirmations a lot. And when we do emotional release in the results, and we release all our patterns from childhood up, we put a positive affirmation in and take out the negative when we do that technique.
Good, thank you. Your charts that you use, you create them yourself. Is there any special technique?
Not all of them. Not all of them. As I was explaining to you before, like when I had a pregnant woman that was fat, wanted to know if I had anything, I created a chart that night. One time in a hotel room, I created a chart on what's impeding the people the most. And every day I add to my charts. If something comes out that I don't have on my charts, I put it on, because it's easier to go through the charts than to do days of therapy. So
now the chart that you make, is it like a pie chart? Is it a list?
There we go. Oh, this is what I use. It's full. Hold on. It's full. These are the charts I use. I work with alcohol addictions. I have a chart on that, and that's right here. Whoops. This is property. Where's this is property chart I made. I don't know, can you see it? And it's just all charts. See? But what is it, Donna Williams, Malcolm? I like her charts. I started with her charts, and I charted with Soul Clearing by Dexler, but I went off his stuff because he didn't do anything on the emotional or healing. He started going way out into galaxies and spaceships, and I'm not into all that. So I went off his, but some of his charts at the beginning I use. So wherever I find charts, and I go look through them, and if there's something good, I use it.
Lynn,
Malcolm,
Just
Malcolm,
creative.
which one is that, Malcolm? Which one are you just showing?
He's muted.
I'm trying to unmute him. There we go.
This particular one starts with self-delusion and goes to unhappy, goes to blocking progress and so forth. And the one under it is health issues. It's very much the same type of thing.
See, that's charts I've done, yeah.
Yeah.
So it looks like Lynn uses a pie chart, a blank pie chart, which you can get in lots and lots of places, and then fills in as she thinks of any possibility that might help that particular issue that she's making a chart for. And then some of her charts are even just lists.
Yes. But, you know, like, it's this destructive behavior. I have charts. That came out of a book that Carol Gator had reposted. I was teaching where she was, and she had this book from this gentleman. I forget his name. 78, I'm getting forgetful. You'll have to excuse me.
It was Dr. Parker, I believe.
Parker.
Yes.
And she told me it was no longer in print, and I really liked some of his charts. So I said to her, you should reprint it, but put that it's revised from his work. So she did. And I bought the book off of her, and it's, those charts are really good. They're here. I use these a lot. They're on health and different things. Wherever, just keep on amassing charts.
There's great chart books at the Dowser's bookstore.
Yeah, what one by Williams, Malcolm? Some of her charts, I should have it right on my charts.
And even Cindy has a clearing book and lots of charts in her book too.
Ann Williams charts are great.
Ann Williams?
Yeah, 90% emotional toxins, her emotional toxins charts, I use them all.
I think she might have come to convention years ago. Sounds familiar.
Yeah. Some charts I don't like. I won't mention names because they're Dowsers and you know them. I find, but Ann Williams are really good. The charts by this gentleman, Hubert Parker is very good. Make your own. Where your interest is, look at the books, Malcolm.
Books and books of charts.
Where your interest lays, you know, what you're interested in. I'm coming, you see, I was 34 years a nurse, so I'm coming from the medical, the nursing, that area. You might be interested in land and stuff and make charts before you go out, you know. What percent am I likely to buy, find water? What percent is it, you know, do a diagram of the property and find out, do a pendulum on the property before you even go there. So you have a good idea where to get it. How much water will I get? Make a charts of different water levels so that you don't have to, and then just go with your pendulum. As you notice, they all have a stop at the bottom. You start there, you shoot up to straight up to the top, and it'll go. Okay. This I use all the time. That's my percentage.
Excellent. Some people even like alphabet charts.
Yes. Well, that would spell out, yeah. I like the percentage, but ask questions. When you get something, you know, if there's a problem, like genetic beliefs comes out in the chart. So it means that the person has taken off a parent's belief. It's not their own. And so I ask, is it the father or the mother, you know, and you get it. But this was interesting. One woman came to me and she was talking to me about her child. And she said that she was in a special school, that she had mental problems. And then she said, but sometimes she doesn't seem mental. And that was enough to get me interested. So I asked if I could see her. And it turned out that she had a belief of brain damage. She didn't have brain damage. She had a belief. And when you have a belief can be so strong that it controls your body. So I said, why does she have brain damage, to the mother? And the mother says, oh, I knew she was going to get brain damage. I had a big fight with her father and I knew that she was going to be born with brain damage. So she took on the father's belief. So when I cleared that, this child no longer had brain damage. I cleared a little boy that was in an institution and he came out and went to school, went to high school, but he'd been in an institution from 6 years old till 13 when I not cured him. I don't say I did through, but that was very interesting because someone came and told him he was going to be okay. And on the day that I did the healing, I did it looking at a picture. It was my very first long distance healing. But a lot of them are patterns that shouldn't be there. But your belief, if the saying, you must have heard the saying, if you believe it, so it is. And that's true. So really, it's get rid of those beliefs. You just start, if you want to heal, just say, start a chart with any erroneous beliefs and make a chart of all which you think the wrong beliefs could be. And there's a start. Just use your imagination and go with it. When a thought comes up, put it on a chart. You had somebody at the conference not too long ago. What was he doing? Oh, heart blocks. Do you remember him? He was doing, yeah, clearing for heart blocks and that.
Oh, you mean the emotion code?
Yeah.
Yes, that was the heart wall that he was.
Yeah, well, I was listening to his talk and then I went back and made a chart and put heart blocks on my chart. Well, first of all, I asked Spirit, can I clear it with a pendulum? And it said yes. I said, do I have to use the technique he does, like a sweeping? And he says it takes a lot of visits. And it said no. So the very next day, I put it on my charts and it came up 3 times. And I started clearing. And one of them was a heart block from her father, woman's father, because she wanted, she always felt, or she let her father down because he wanted a boy.
So
And,
talking about Dr. Bradley Nelson, who came and was a keynote speaker one year, and his body of work called the emotion code and then the body code.
yeah.
And I often use his emotion charts I work with people because there's always an emotional tag in any physical or mental issue.
Yeah.
I learned that from Lynn.
Yeah, there's always emotion and always looking for love in some manner.
Well, I'm not sure if we're out of time now. I believe this is an hour show.
Could I ask, I'm sorry, could I ask one quick question? I have this on the chat. And the question really quick is for Lynn, is the emotional release method, is that something that you created or did someone else create this emotional release?
That's part of the results system, which is the body alignment, the repatterning, the emotional release. That all came from Margaret Keene that had a near-death experience and came back with the knowledge.
Keene, like K-E-E-N-E?
Yes.
Thank you.
She's in spirit now, but she was the founder. I've added to it with her permission. There's some things on the body alignment that I've added, but when I teach it, I put that's from me. So the students started calling it Lynn's line on the body. You know, on the knee, there's a line I do that she doesn't have, and they call it Lynn's line. I'm always adding, you know, it's just, I take a pendulum on the body, and if I'm not using their fingers, and just take a pendulum and say, circle where it's sore, where are the blockages. It's easy to just use your imagination, use the pendulum and have fun with it.
Thank you.
So Lynn's,
Thank
we'll
you.
put hopefully get back to teaching eventually, and then you can all learn a lot more about this. The results system is a very comprehensive system. And hopefully if we're in person again, maybe we can talk her into doing a workshop at the convention sometime. Perhaps the soul clearing, or we'll work on her. How's that?
Yeah.
Well, thank you, everyone. Are there any last quick questions?
There's one question that came up, and I think it's kind of important. Lynn, when the question is from Nancy. What % do you want above when testing whether a food or a supplement or a medication, et cetera, are advisable to take? I think you said 80%?
Oh, that's if I'm buying something or something, but a supplement, I want to I ask if it's her highest choice and I get a yes, I give it. If it's no, I don't. And that's if they question it, then I ask for percent, and I want it at least over 80%.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. And also if if you're testing someone in a medication, and if they're taking other medication, get the name of the medication and say, considering this medication, and this medication, is this a high choice? Because sometimes one thing, even a supplement, will wipe out another medication. Like grapefruit is really bad for blood pressure medication. You know, simplest things. So I always say, considering this, this, and this that he's already established by the doctor, is it a high choice to add this? Okay.
Any last words of wisdom?
Malcolm said Margaret Keane.
No, it's because she spelled it wrong. It was Kean.
Sorry.
Margaret Fields Keane. No, it's okay. Just because, you know, people Googling her will have fun trying to find her with the other name. Vibrational medicine.
I talked about that.
Oh, you did? All right. So.
And
All
we're
right,
over
that's it for me.
time. We're over time. No, what I would counsel people is to have fun with your pendulum. Don't take yourself so seriously. And please don't use it as a crutch. So this guy, Thomas, that was left brain, do I go right or do I go left? Do I eat this or do I eat that? Do I do this or it was terrible. And then one of the others made him a teacher and the results, and he was there. He didn't teach half the class. Should I do a meditation this morning? No. Should I do? It was terrible, but he used it as a crutch. It's not a crutch, it's to help you, but have fun with it and enjoy yourself. It's great. Relax. Because if you're tense, it'll be harder to get a good results. And just ask. If you don't know, ask.
Lynn, I just want to say you're amazing.
Oh,
and I
thank you.
love you. And that 2 weeks was the best, I think, thing. I mean, that was the best time ever. Wasn't it, Sue?
Absolutely. I learned a lot, and it's quite a body of work that Lynn represents there. And she is the official teacher of the system.
At the moment, I'm the head teacher in the world.
Yes. And just for people that we can tell you, if you want to contact Lynn, her phone number is 1-450-621-0637. And her email is results@videotron.ca.canada.
All one word of results SRT. So it's RESULTSSRT.
And it's in your chat box, but for those folks that have trouble accessing that, I thought we'd just read it out loud. So thank you so much, Lynn.
It was great seeing you all. All
Yeah.
these faces and that. Great.
Yeah.
All right.
Love
Bye-bye.
you.
Okay, well, thank you all for coming, and we'll see you again. If you want the recording, you're a member, you can get it off the members page eventually, probably within a few days.
And thank you, Malcolm, for helping out.
All right now, so I'm going to end this. Goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you, Lynn. Thank you, Suzanne.
Bye-bye.
Bye.